I lost my car, I lost my house, I had to break up with the girl that I was dating at the time.
What?
She got scared that I was going to go to prison for the rest of my life.
It is not about being guilty, and it is not about committing the crime. It was about getting a conviction.
I was the guy that, enlisted in the Army as an infantryman during the height of the Iraq War. I never fought over there, but that was my intent. They've taken a guy that's willing to do anything to protect the people around him to somebody who absolutely hates Fulton County.
Hello, friends, and welcome to one more episode of The Setup here in SM Studios. Today, we're going to be interviewing one of the co-defendants in my case who decided to come forward and tell his own story. I want to keep his name on the dark at the moment, but I want the people to hear what he has to say, what he has gone through all these long 8 years. It's very interesting that we learn a little bit about the other side of the people that was involved with me in charge along in this case. So without delaying this anymore, I want to welcome to Mr. today.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very good. Here in this lovely day.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. We are outdoors today. So one of the things that I want to do is for you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background and how did you get to work with AY?
I started out serving in the Army right after high school. I was medically discharged due to a knee injury. After that, I went to work for Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice as a juvenile correctional officer, working with youthful offenders who were awaiting trial for criminal actions.
And so when you work for the Department of Justice, that means you've been trained by the government.
Yes.
Okay. And not only trained, but you also certified
Yes.
in working with juveniles.
Yes, we went through Georgia Post, which is Peace Officer Standards and Training.
Which is the same training that the police officers go,
Yes.
and the detention officers go, and the sheriff deputies go.
That's
It's the
correct.
same school, just different classes.
Yes. A lot of the times it's in the same building. And
Exactly.
we have some of the same instructors going between the different classes.
Exactly.
Uh,
So we're trained by the same public safety department.
Yes. We went down to Georgia Public Safety Training Center down in Forsyth, Georgia, and went through a 4-week academy that taught us use of force, which is a physical intervention, and mechanical restraints, as well as dealing with the emotional aspects of dealing with youthful offenders. Because a lot of these kids do have issues from home as far as psychological abuse, all kinds of stuff that just, it makes them at risk of having to be in these situations like at AYA.
Correct. So having this said, I want to clarify to the audience and the people who's following this setup, rather than portraying you as the media did, like you are negligent and you didn't know what you were doing, and all the people working in AYA didn't know what they were doing, they were all negligent and without training, you actually had specific training
Yes.
to use of force, because the use of force varies depending on between juveniles and adults.
Yes.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the training that you got with the Department of Justice, the Juvenile Justice, about dealing with aggressive juveniles?
Whenever we went through with Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, we actually used what's called the use of force continuum. And it's basically graduated steps of your use of force. So the first step would be officer presence. Usually 99% of issues are solved by a correctional officer being present at the location.
Just what we call the uniform.
Yeah, the uniform, the badge, however you want to see it.
Correct.
After that, it's verbal instructions. You tell the suspect or the juvenile offender, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, or this is going to happen. After that, you use what's called soft hands, which is basically, put your hand on their shoulder and try to guide them to where they need to go.
Correct.
After that, if there's an escalation of force from them, we use a little bit harder tactics, restraints, which could include mechanical restraints as well as pepper spray, tasers, things like that.
Now, in your knowledge and training and experience gained, the training from the juvenile system, was any restrictions on using pepper spray?
As far as I know, there was not. We were all trained in pepper spray with Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice whenever
What ages?
we
of
had to
juveniles?
deal with kids as young as 9 all the way up to 17 and 18 years old.
In the state of Georgia, have you pepper spray juveniles around those ages?
I personally have not, but people that I've worked with have.
Yeah, but you had a
We were
green light.
trained for
You
it,
had
yes.
Yeah, you were trained for it.
if
And-
necessary.
If necessary, correct. And how about mechanical restraints?
Mechanical restraints, we were taught multiple types, the leg irons, as well as handcuffs and the belly chain, as well as the straitjacket. We were taught all these.
I want to pause that. I want you to mention them, all of them again. Please listen up, all my audience, because what he is saying is a complete different perception of what general public has about juveniles. General public thinks that we cannot, as law enforcement officers, we cannot restrain juveniles. So go over it again. You were trained and you were authorized by the government, by the Department of Justice, okay, that you could use which level of force?
The Department of Juvenile Justice allowed us the opportunity to be trained in mechanical restraints, which includes handcuffs,
Correct.
leg irons, and what's called the belly chain, which is basically
the chain.
a chain that goes around your stomach, and the
And holds your
handcuffs are
hands.
hooked between them, or keeps the offender's hands low near the waist so they can't reach out and choke around the officer's neck, which has happened before, which is why we
Absolutely.
use that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the jacket.
Yes, we also were trained with a straitjacket for offenders that were having, such as kind of like a mental breakdown or anything. I've never personally used it, but we were trained to use that.
Then there is another part of restraining, which is the pepper spray, which I think out of all the use of forces, pepper spray is one of the most noble and soft tool utilized to control somebody. Also, you were also taught about disintoxicating, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. So you're trained on using it and you're trained on cleaning the person.
Yes, we were.
So yes.
OC spray, or Oleracin capsaicum, is actually derived from a pepper that's the oil of capsicum, which is the Latin term for it. And that's what's in the OC spray. Whenever it goes in to your eyes and as well as your nose, it causes a mucus effect, which allows you to temporarily be incapacitated, not necessarily out of your mind, but just where you're focusing more on the pain in your eyes and your nose until you can be restrained.
Yes.
After that, there is detoxification time that allows for us to rinse out your eyes and face and get that pepper off of your face.
So basically, all this trained and you were certified, because it's
Yes.
not only training, it's also getting certified on using every one of the things that you just said.
That's correct. And we had to have the spray used on us as well.
Exactly.
That's part of the certification process.
Right. Is there any difference between the pepper spray that a police officer uses on the road for an adult and the pepper spray that you use in the juvenile system?
No.
It's exactly
exact
the
same.
same pepper spray. Now, there is another one that is utilized on the jail, which is called the foam.
Yes.
There is a difference between those two.
Yes, the foam, the time of my training actually overlapped with that. I was given a familiarization course with it, but I didn't go through the actual course for that one yet. That's why I never used it.
You never used
And so I can't speak educatedly about that.
about that one. You have knowledge.
I'm familiar with it,
You're
yes.
familiar with it. So you were educated on it,
Yes.
but not certified on it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So all this training, which is the exact same training that they give to all police officers
Yes.
in general, is what you utilize when you were working with the juvenile justice department.
Yes, because we're mandated officers. We might not be out on the street doing patrol, but we are mandated by the state.
Well, what we're going to do right now, we're just going to go to a short break, okay? And we're going to come back with a little bit more information on what is it that they were doing, or what is it that they're doing to stay completely out of trouble when dealing with juveniles. We'll be right back, and we'll continue to talk about what is here in the setup.
I had been working with Department of Juvenile Justice for several years at this point. The whole system is basically gladiator camp. They put a kid that shoplifted a remote control from Walmart in the same room with somebody who stabbed two people whenever they were doing a drug deal. We had multiple officers get punched in the face. I was punched. I was stabbed one time in the hand. It's a dangerous place to work.
One of the narratives they're trying to sell is that we were in the obscure, dark, and no one knew what was going on behind doors, which is a complete lie.